Hi, everyone. Welcome to another USI Tech Talk. Today we have Lynn Hurdman from Peat Sorb going over some of the highlights of that product. From talking to her, I don't know anyone that knows more about the absorbents industry and everything going on, especially their product, which is a really green absorbent that you can use pretty much anywhere that you have problems, and she'll go into more details for that. If you have questions during this, we encourage you to send a chat on here. I will go through and read those off as they come in, and of course we'll have a couple minutes at the end to go over Q&A. From there, Lynn, do you want to take over?
Yeah, for sure. Welcome everyone. Good morning. I'm speaking to you from Canada. I guess you know that Peat Sorb is an all-Canadian product and we ship globally. We're very diverse in what we can do. There is no chemical yet that Peat Sorb cannot tackle. We have no reactivity, we have no incompatibilities, zero health risks, encapsulate, we go to landfill. And the newest thing to tell everyone about is Peat Sorb has been recognized and awarded with executive order status in the United States. And this is under the bio-based, bio-preferred program with the objective of achieving net carbon zero footprint. I was told by the USDA that of all the absorbents they tested, Peat Sorb was the only one that scored a 0 on net zero carbon release in the atmosphere. So that's pretty significant. Not only do we do the job of spill response and absorption to a gold standard, but now we've got another notch in our belt with executive order. This means all federal agencies and all federal agencies contractors, it is mandatory for them to purchase Peat Sorb. So I have the certificate, I have the letter, I have all the support documentation that is required to broadcast this message to your clients. And if you have some questions to help me, because I've got a short window of time to be with all of you, I'm here to target what your concerns are.
So, yeah, you guys can chat them in, and here, let me open up mics for everyone as well. So if you have questions, you can go ahead and unmute yourself now.
Lynn, this is Doug. I have a question for you. About how long will the traditional peat sorb float on water while it's absorbing a hydrocarbon?
So the first thing it does is absorb the hydrocarbon first, okay, right? And then the means in which it's removed, of course, would be mechanical or manual. If you just walked away from the spill, which is allowed, then you can see it float for a week. In fact, it depends on the movement of the water. If it's rough water, stagnant water, this is all going to play a function on the Peat Sorb eventually succumbing and sinking. But you don't have to worry if it does sink, because it's holding on to that hydrocarbon underwater, and it's done its job, right?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's great. And then you also had some studies at Michigan State University, I believe, where they poured it on sod fields.
Right.
What happens when it's on a sod field or stuff of that nature?
Okay, so University of Michigan's botany department did a test on hot oil and cold oil on turf. And the test was for 4 weeks. And every week they took pictures and they monitored what was occurring on the turf. The conclusion was it did not matter if the oil was hot or cold. The end result was the same. And they determined it's actually better to have a spill than no spill, because what Peat Sorb was able to do is enrich the soil, so that the vegetation grew back greener and healthier than before the spill.
Great. Fascinating.
Yeah.
And for anyone who hasn't seen the pictures of, I forget which study it was, where they grew tomatoes in it after the fact.
Yeah, Norway.
It looks awesome. I mean, knowing that it was used to clean up, and then you see the life coming out of it after, really paints a picture of what the product can do. We've got a question from John Martin. If you want to go ahead and open up your mic and ask, and then I got another one through text after that.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could talk about certifications as far as Coast Guard, EPA, and other government entities.
For sure. So we do have EPA approval. We have U.S. Coast Guard approval. And of course, our Canadian Environment Minister approval. We also have approval in Nigeria. We have approval in Zambia. And this is the allowing for peat sorb after Zambia's Environmental Management Authority thoroughly tested peat sorb and said, yes, we approve of its use and its importation into our country for use in our land. And with Nigeria, we had to go through extensive testing to prove we didn't have any heterotrophic bacteria, heterotrophic fungi. We weren't bringing in any foreign microorganisms into their country. And this is necessary because even though we're not a chemical, we're going to be working with the chemical industries and the petroleum industries. And they have to go through that kind of a rigorous process. So we were no different. So consequently, we have approval from the government of Nigeria. Also, Colombia, I have approval from. And most recently in Chile, the director of the Maritime Authority, because they have the longest coastline in the world, that director had to approve the use of peat sorb being used in their waters. And I now have approval from the Maritime Director of Chile.
That's excellent. What kind of acids does peat sorb absorb?
Every kind. There is no acid that it cannot absorb. And the best example of recent was the 5th largest refinery in the United States belongs to BP in Whiting, Indiana. And BP contacted me directly and said they had a large spill. What they did was they used firefighting foam because hydrogen sulfide, which is an acid, benzene, a chemical, were released into the community. The community starts literally outside their gates. So benzene is a carcinogen, hydrogen sulfide is a respiratory depressant. In combination, you have the community starting to smell and breathe these vapors. We brought in truckloads of peat sorb. I have 5,000 bags in inventory right now. I'm always well prepared for spill response. What peat sorb was able to do was reduce those elevated readings of acids, of all the chemicals that were released into this spill. And the following week, the same project manager called me and said, we have a bigger problem because snow and ice had melted into this collection of chemicals with acids. And they were very worried because now what were they going to do? And I said, this is very good news because peat sorb has a second product that absorbs all the water and all the hydrocarbons, solidifying it into a mass. And she turned the project over to the water hydrocarbon absorbent, which I call WHA. And she said, Lynn, do you know how hard it is to get into oil and gas? I said, I sure do. Consider yourself in. I cannot legally write about the nature of what happened on our site, nor take pictures, but I promise you this, you can have any oil and gas company call me and I will tell the story why peat sorb saved the day. We do not know what we would have done without peat sorb. So peat sorb has the ability to neutralize acids, right? Take away their volatility, suppress those vapors. And that's why you don't get ignition because you've smothered the chemical from being volatile. It's absolutely fascinating, but it sure is thrilling that we have every, trick up our sleeve for every scenario.
We
For
do
sure.
have two more audience questions here. The first one being, what is the disposal protocol for used peat sorb saturated with hydrocarbons?
Okay, I have a fire department that taught me something. What they do is they have a receptacle with fresh peat sorb. They have another receptacle that has the spent peat sorb with the collected hydrocarbons. And they work through both, right? Until there is absolutely all the peat has been encapsulated with a hydrocarbon, saturated to the eye. And then they will take it and put it into their local trash system, their landfill. Because once peat sorb's encapsulated, the hydrocarbon, it will not leach. Providing they'll say this, you have to use enough product, right? You can't just use a sprinkle and you hold it up and it squeezes out, right? So to the eye, you see that you've got used enough peat. Landfill is acceptable, but we do not have the power to say over the local jurisdictions, we're going to landfill, regardless of what you say. Right? We do have to abide by what the local authorities for the jurisdiction are allowing. But quite likely the landfills, if you were to produce a T-clip test, certainly would let you into the landfill.
Awesome. Thank you for that. The next question is, under what conditions does peat sorb underperform or fail? The examples given were like, extremely viscous spills, very cold temperatures, large volumes, long duration exposure. Where would this product potentially not work?
So fail is not in our repertoire. It is something that we just do not do. We just don't fail. It doesn't matter the size of the spill. It doesn't matter the climate. It doesn't matter if it's fresh water, salt water. It does not matter. It is only after the hydrocarbon. Okay, the hydrocarbon and peat are building blocks of each other. They're related. Peat sorb seeks its relative to the hydrocarbon. So as long as there's a hydrocarbon, it's not failing, right? It absorbs on land and on the water and can be used into the soil for remediation. So I can't say that it fails, because if it was to fail, it's because you didn't use enough peat sorb. That would be the answer to that question. You didn't use enough for the proportion of the spill.
Uh, I believe I saw a case study once. There's oil mixed with, I think it was snow, and peat sorb was used to essentially separate the snow from the oil. Am I remembering that correctly? So it can work in that kind of condition too?
Yeah, so peat will take the hydrocarbon, right, and repel the water. So that's the original peat sorb. But what we used in BP was a different animal of peat sorb, which was taking all the snow, all the ice, and the hydrocarbon and solidifying it. Nothing was separated.
It looks like we got another question here from Nick. Nick, you want to go ahead and unmute yourself?
Yeah, hey, good morning. Thanks for being on here, Lynn. Question I had is, I've talked to a few fire departments in the past, and they use a clay-based product right now for their emergency response spills. But in talking with them and trying to portray the benefits of peat sorb, the question that comes up to them is, what am I supposed to do on those windy days when I got to lay this stuff out and it just starts blowing out across the road? What am I supposed to do with that? Because my clay doesn't do that. And I said, well, don't you still have to pick up the clay afterwards? And a lot of these places in Michigan they pour this clay down on the road and they're walking away from it at that point. They don't have any regulation that requires them to pick that back up. So that's a hard sell for me to like go back at them and say, well, here's why this works. But I'd love to hear from your standpoint. What do you do in that circumstance?
Okay, so to me, if they're just gonna, first of all, firemen are about safety, right? So every aspect
Sure.
of their job is about responding in safe ways to prevent further catastrophe and further accidents. If you're not, it's great. You got the whole, suit on, right?
Sure.
Right? You've come with the fire truck, right? But you've come with oil dry. Oil dry cannot absorb. It is a major slip hazard and time consuming. So I guess if they walk away, they're hoping that they're coming back because they created another accident by using a product that when the next cars come by are going to not be able to brake efficiently or pick it up in their tires and skid down the road. I mean, it seems to me that their thinking is very short-sighted.
Sure.
And Peat Sorb has zero health risks. Oil dry, speedy dry, aka floor dry, all of these diatomaceous earth products are highly concentrated with crystalline silica. So crystalline silica is a known carcinogen. In the state of California, they say, we want you as an employer to put in writing why you're going to expose your employees to a known carcinogen. Why are you doing that? Why are the firemen exposing themselves daily to a known carcinogen, to an ineffective absorbent that doesn't deserve the word ab because it's an ad? Everything is sticking to the outside of the granule. It's heavy, it's cumbersome, it doesn't suppress flammable vapors. So there's the fireman with a potential greater threat to having a fire, whereas the Peat Sorb is smothering, neutralizing, preventing flashback, preventing ignition from these volatile vapors. So, okay, some went by with the wind, but your job got done safer and more efficiently than oil dry. And I always say you have to work with the wind, right? So you don't throw it over your shoulder, throw it from your waist, crouch down and throw it from a low point of gravity. The wind can't blow it away at that point.
Yeah, that's smart. I like that. Yeah. There's a lot of good points you made there. And it'd be great to have you ride on a call or two. Honestly,
Yeah, well, thank you.
You're very well spoken with it, and I really appreciate the insight because I can definitely bring some of those talking points up immediately in my next conversation.
Yes,
and
and they're more
already
than
sound better.
welcome. I'm sorry,
No,
John.
you're good.
They're more than welcome to speak with the Missouri Fire Department or the #1 ranked fire department in Canada. I have a great testimonial from the #1 ranked fire department in Canada. The fire chief there's 40 years experience. He's tried every absorbent you can possibly name, and he's the only one he will ever use is Peat Sorb. There's nothing better. And
Nice.
if they care about their green image, that's a bonus too.
No, thank you. Appreciate it.
I do want to be conscious of time here. We are at 12:05. Thank you for everyone sticking around. We do have a couple more questions, so we're going to keep going until we run out, unless unless we don't have time to do that. But looks like John has another one. If you want to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, Lynn, thanks again for your time. You mentioned the fire department at the refinery had used foam, which is, I know, being phased out in most municipal areas. Still, refineries use it due to the PFAS. Could you expand more on how Peat Sorb can absorb PFAS as well?
Okay, so this was tested not only at BP, but I had a prior test at an airport in North Carolina, actually. Peat Sorb will absorb the firefighting foam. And yes, PFAS chemicals are part of the firefighting foam. In about a month's time, I hope to have lab reports. There's a company in Texas. It's a large waste company, actually, and they want to have their sludge tested with Peat Sorb to see if the Peat Sorb has any capabilities of reducing the PFAS or the PFAS. My guess is yes, it should have some effect because those forever chemicals have a carbon molecular composition to them. So anything that's hydrogen, anything that's carbon, Peat Sorb is completely compatible with and will absorb it. So there's potential, huge potential. If this lab test comes back positive, we are making a difference, then every town, every city, every county, every state will want Peat Sorb because they're all fighting these forever chemicals in various ways.
All right. I don't see any more hands up. So, Lynn, thank you very much for your time today. This has been a really valuable, quick education lesson. If anyone does want to hear more about Peat Sorb, feel free to reach out to Doug, to us at the office. You can email me direct at cs@usigroups.com, or get a hold of us generally at office@usigroups.com, or we'd love to hear from you via a call at 248-735-7000, and we can talk more about your specific application, how much you would need, if it's going to be able to suit your needs, which there's really not much that this can't absorb when it comes down to it. So thank you again, Lynn. Do you have anything real quick in closing?
Well, I want to thank all of you. I mean, this was excellent. I haven't done a format like this. I feel like I'm on some sort of Jimmy Kimmel show. I don't. But anyways, it's great to have this presentation, get more known about the product because the sales are endless. Absolutely. And there's so much we can do. The mining industry, the food industry, oil and gas industry, the fish industry, it just goes on and on. So I'm here to help each and every one of you. I've got more to say always, and lots to help everyone with. So I really appreciate this format this morning, and good luck to everyone. And I hope we do this again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Lynn.
And just a reminder, our next Tech Talk is October 22nd at 11:45 a.m. That one's going to be on chemical resistance and essentially going over protecting your assets that are in those harsh environments. Thank you again, everyone, and have a great day.